Приветошки-плюшки, я Тори, и мы продолжаем приключения в Enderal. В прошлой серии мы прошли ритуал. Сейчас нас ждет Калия, наверное, с ней надо поговорить. Что мы, собственно, сейчас сделаем? Почему-то у меня моя героиня просто не хочет глаза открывать. Так и будет, наверное, ходить, ладно. Чё, как дела? Да вот, не дождешься. Ну, глюки, конечно, были так себе.
Of course, sorry. That remark was a little redundant. But it's good to see the Grandmaster was right after all. I woke up just a few hours earlier, and he was here in the meantime. He didn't doubt for a single second that you would make it. But I suppose mutual congratulations are in order. We made it.
Да.
We passed the trial.
Какой классный наряд.
Almost, yes. All that is left to do is to take the oath, and then Grandmaster Aranthiel will exalt us to the keepers of the first sigil. Speaking of whom, he also told me some things while you were asleep. About the Pyreans, about these dreams, and of course about this cycle.
Что-нибудь там сказал?
This is so bizarre, really. At first we're told out of nowhere that the gods have died, and now humanity is on the brink of extinction. This is a lot to take in.
Ну, я так не считаю, что это лучше, что было.
Hard to say. I never had those dreams the Grandmaster talked about, even though I'm magically gifted. But then again, I always had the feeling that the Red Madness was more than an ordinary disease.
Ну да, это не похоже на обычную болезнь.
Well, I suppose all of this explains a lot. At least now I can understand why the Grandmaster was willing to break all the traditions of the Order just to get you exalted to be a keeper. According to him, most of our battle against the cycle will stand or fall with you.
Ну...
Yes, I believe that. It's a great responsibility you've been given. And as impressive as
Да.
your skills are, I would not want to change places.
Судьба у меня не самая простая. Что дальше?
As I said, we both have to take the holy oath. You should talk to the Grandmaster as soon as you're ready. He's waiting for you in the Emporium. Right. Dunwar. The apothecary examined him about an hour ago, and it doesn't look good. It's likely that he'll never wake up again.
Ну, он, конечно, вел себя как говнюк.
No, in spite
Ну
of
ладно,
everything.
что ж теперь?
You know, Dunwar was one of those people who tried to gild their insecurity with boastful behavior. The reality is that he was the last of his bloodline, and his faith in the path and his destiny as a keeper were all that he had left. And who knows? Maybe he would have been a great help to the Order with the right guidance. But I guess Master Bartar's revelation was just too much for him. It's hard to be told that everything you've lived for was a lie.
Ну-ка, давайте немножко про нее узнаем.
But yes, in a way, you're probably right. I suppose that's mainly due to the fact that to me, as opposed to Dunwar, the Order
Так я буду немножко
said nearly
пролистывать.
the same thing during the exaltation. Dunwar would have considered it blasphemy.
Я не знаю, как они угробили 1000 жизней.
That's true.
Ну, как
A
бы...
lot of crimes were committed during the Lightborn's reign, and I don't want to minimize that. But I also think a lot of those crimes were unavoidable. Imagine you're the king of a small island, and one day your realm gets attacked by a fleet of Scarab Reavers. The invasion catches you completely off guard, and within a few hours, the Reavers have advanced to the farmland, just a few feet from your city's main gates. And before you know it, will you use the time that remains to entrench your army within the city's walls to have a better chance of surviving a siege? Or do you send them into the field to fight the Reavers there, knowing that there is only a slight chance to save the farmers, but a big risk that you will lose both the city and the farmers?
А, тут можно выбрать еще. Только так показано было, как нельзя. Ну, я бы за фермеров, конечно.
Yes. But what if your foray fails and ends up being the reason why the Scarab can break through the city's fortifications? Wouldn't that too make you responsible for all the townsfolk they would kill once they got in?
Да, и сказали бы, что я их бросила.
It doesn't matter what you do. There will be people who will despise you for your decision. If your attempt to rescue the farmers fails, you will be accused of having acted blindly and idealistically. And if you just stay in the city, they will say you didn't even try. Of course, there's a small chance the foray might work, but should decisions like that really be made, as I said?
Ой,
I
как
don't
быть?
mean to
Это
absolve the
жизнь.
Lightborn of their
Другому тут
crimes,
не
but
попробуешь,
I
не
wager my
узнаешь.
left hand that they had a lot of similar decisions to make.
Интересно.
I knew the question would come eventually. I suppose the answer depends on whether you're in the mood for some gloomy talk. Sooner or later, you'll hear it from someone else anyway, so why not from me first?
Давай рассказывай.
As you wish. Where should I start? Maybe with the fact that I don't remember anything that happened before my 6th winter. I don't know where I was born, and I never got to know my parents. I wish I knew.
Какие-то странности.
What I do know, though, is that the first memory I have is of waking up in the middle of some village. It was dark, and I felt dizzy and, I don't know, empty? That's probably the best way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
I eventually found the strength to get up and look around, and, well, that's when I realized what was actually going on around me. The entire village. It had been
Может, тебе
destroyed.
просто повезло выжить.
There were corpses everywhere. Men, women, children. And the houses had been crushed as if some mad god had rampaged through the streets there. And it had all just happened hours before because the destruction was still fresh. Whatever it was, I didn't have much time to think about it. As soon as I got up, I saw 3 riders coming through the smoke. One of them got off his horse, ran towards one of the corpses, and started screaming something in my direction. Then I felt a blow on the back of my head, and I lost consciousness. By the name of the sun, it's strange to talk about it like this. It's been so long, but the memory feels as if it had happened yesterday. It's okay. Anyway, it turned out that the riders were men from the village who had gone hunting. They must have observed the whatever it was from the distance and ridden back to the village. At least I think that's how it went. I guess I'll never find out. The reason they thought I was somehow involved is that the village priest found me a couple of days before it happened near a shrine in the wilderness. Apparently, I was wearing torn clothing, and no matter what the apothecary tried, he couldn't wake me up from my comatose sleep. And it seems that made the writers think I was some kind of witch child, or unholy beast, whichever you prefer. For you, maybe. For them, as simple people, it was probably the best explanation they had. And think about it, it's not that far off. A motherless child who neither talks nor breathes steadily is found abandoned on the roadside and has a strange mark on her face. They leave to go hunting, and when they come back, they find their village in ruins with that foundling child being the only survivor. You have to admit, it's not that much of a stretch, even if those men hadn't been superstitious farmers. Probably. Truth be told, I try not to think about it too much. And actually, it doesn't matter, because I somehow managed to get away before they could do anything. I even made it to Ark all by myself, which didn't turn out to be much of an improvement in the end, because I was pathless. Yes. Thinking about it now, I actually wonder how I made it through my time down there. But maybe that's one of the advantages of being a child. You don't think. You just act. Still, the winters down there were cruel, and if Master Tyrus hadn't found and taken care of me, I probably wouldn't have made it through my 2nd year. Yes, otherwise I would not be here. He saw me, and he knew what he had to do, is how he put it. Of course, the Order wasn't too happy about a pathless child in the Scuola.
Конечно, был недоволен.
About you being here. But Tyrus was a highly regarded man, and that's why they let it slide.
Я стараюсь молчать, чтобы сильно не портить атмосферу.
It does, yes. But then he had lost both his wife and daughter 5 years before he found me, so maybe I was some kind of substitute. I don't know. But in the end, it doesn't matter. I owe him everything. He was a good man, and that's all that matters. That's right, we do. But we are both still pathless, and that disqualifies us according to the holy verses.
Я не хочу.
I guess now you understand why I was never as connected to Malthus's teaching as Dunwar was. To some of the keepers, I am still an outcast. And no matter what I do, I always will be.
Потому что они душнило.
Yes. And now I'm here. Well, here we've reached the end of my impressive tale. I hope you liked it.
Жестяк, конечно, не сахар.
No, I guess I'm not. Gone. He was very old, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. But I'd prefer not to talk about it, if you don't mind. He does, yes, and he's not alone in his opinion. One of those hunters recognized me in the market my first year as a novice, and you can imagine that it was easy pickings for those who were already against my presence in the Order. From then on, they added names to the derogatory stares.
Казалось бы, взрослые люди ведут себя как школьники сумасшедшие.
Yes, maybe. You know what's funny? To some extent, I'm glad to be who I am. That way, people just leave me alone, and that gives me more time to focus on what's important, on my goals. Several, but I'd say that's enough of the gloomy stories, don't you think? There will be plenty of time for chatter in the future.
Ладно.
Maybe.
Давай, потом про Дунвара узнаю.
If you want, I can show you the most important places in the...
Ну давайте, я хочу отношения.
Yes?
Да, давайте. Переоденусь. Возможно, я это... Пошли! Будет стоять теперь. Подрежу, как тут ходим с ней. Сколько народу. Женщин. Спасибо. Что, ничего не скажешь?
This is the sanctum. It's a place of silence and prayer, and also where we'll be exalted later.
Ты че носишься там? Тут такие длинные диалоги. Мне же хочется каких-то действий.
Okay, I think you've seen this place before.
Да.
We call this part of the temple the Chronicum, and in here is scattered the knowledge of the Order written down in books and parchments. Plus, all of the experiments and research on artifacts and magic is done
То,
here.
что мои.
So it's a place you'll probably see often in the near future. Ah, and just below the Chronicum is the temple smithy. You should go there if you need equipment.
Хорошо.
Over there, that's the Scuola and the quarters, where both the keepers and the novices live.
Вот там
There's also a
кузница,
training
да?
room where everything from swordplay to marksmanship can be trained and taught. You'll find some skilled teachers there.
Это надо будет сделать.
Well, I think that's about it. You've already been to the Emporium, and I assume prepare myself, probably. Now walk blessed. I will see you soon.
Хорошо. В Эмпориум. Так. Давайте сейчас с ним поговорим. Пойдем что-нибудь делать, наверное, интересненькое. Ну, зависит от того, что он скажет. Давай про кого? Хочу его.
Is that so? Very well. I will convince her. You will hear from me. I hope so.
Ой, я совсем не подслушивал. Нет, нет, нет.
Good to see you.
А ты мог еще это дальше-то стоять? Подождите, подойду.
Prophetess, good to see you.
Так себе себя чувствую.
If I had doubted
Ну,
your
спасибо,
abilities,
спасибо.
even to the slightest, I would have never spoken out for you. In any case, all that is left to do now is to recite the oath. Then we will finally deal with the more urgent matters. None of it, you'll see.
Ну, поклянусь, ладно.
The ceremony needs a little preparation.
Хорошо.
1 day at least. Come back then. Even if it hurts to lose more time, the cleansing approaches. I can feel it. Just this night I had another of the dreams.
Сон, говоришь?
People I knew, including you. But these people weren't themselves. There was something else, and it spoke through them. They mocked. I believe that these beings are connected to the cycle. They must
Возможно,
be
я
the ones
тоже
who
так
caused
думаю.
it. You did? That is interesting. It must be related to our roles as emissaries. Maybe there is a connection between us.
Maybe.
None. Maybe they are demons or magical entities of some kind, but they are different from everything I know. In any case, if they are indeed responsible for the cycle, they are our enemies. That's what matters for now. Come back tomorrow for the ceremony.
Хорошо. Я не буду с ним разговаривать, это будет сейчас очень долго. Вот это так полсерии разговора. Да, что? Да, я жду. Я тут, да. Спасибо. На тебе денежку. Спасибо. Благодарю, благодарю. Что тут? Каждый день как последняя старая. Ну, я догадываюсь, кто это. Так. Загадочное письмо, моя милая леди. Спасибо, Джеспар. Так, поехали. Я бегу к тебе, Джеспар. Ну, она там стоит. Давайте вот так сделать. Ничего не видно. Здорово.
There you are. Glad you made it. So, how was it? I heard quite some stories about this trial and was never sure what to make of it.
Ну. Ну, было проще, реально.
Yeah, I changed my mind. Come,
А
let's
че
go
ты
upstairs.
передумал?
It'll be worth
Че
it.
ты передумал? Ну, наверх так наверх.
There we are. Wait, so wine or pipe?
Давай лучше вино. Не
So
буду ему прям
Australian
отказывать.
Vintage 8190.
Чего вообще меня спаиваешь?
What? You mean the living dead, the Watirs everywhere, the frenzied civilians? I'd say this country's seen better times. But at least something happened. A real treasure. Consider it a congratulatory gift
Спасибо.
for passing the trial.
Кота.
Take
Еще
your chin
один
up.
подходит тут. Лапает меня. Чё, как дела-то?
Nothing better than a good pipe and a nice sight to go along with it. It's always sad to see how few people can truly appreciate these things.
У тебя рот не открывается.
Anyway, tell me, fair lady,
Чё
what is it that
рассказать?
drives you? I've been asking that myself since we met. I mean, it's not like anyone's forcing you to play errand boy for Orenthal, is there?
Ну, знаешь,
And
тут
with
надо
your
мир
abilities, you can make a
спасти,
fortune as a
попробовать,
mercenary.
все такое.
Not to mention the danger you put yourself in. Securing the excavation site, passing the trial, they certainly haven't been easy on you so far. Makes sense. In any case, it's interesting to see how you've gotten from being a magically gifted refugee to the center of
Спасибо.
all this. Kind of reminds me of a woman I used to travel with, Alicia. No matter where she went, she always ended up in the eye of the storm. We got hired for the same job. Usually I work better on my own, but this partnership was refreshing in every aspect. It felt good to know someone's got your back for a change, especially with the kind of work I do. Which is why we decided to stick together after that first job. And it went great, at least initially. She just cared too much, you know? Yeah, she was a mercenary, but she only ever picked the jobs where she thought she could help people, or at least do no damage. As you can imagine, that doesn't always work out in my profession, and whenever it didn't, she really took it to heart. It was sad, if you think about it, really.
Шо,
We traveled
мутили,
together
да?
and we had sex, so yes, according to most people's definition of it, we were a couple. That was, let me think, about 3 years. Yeah, we went to Araziel, Kira, Arkwend, and one time we even fought a group of petrified on Belay. She fought as ardently as she lived.
Так говоришь, как будто она
I don't know
умерла.
how I would have survived that fight without her. several reasons. First of all, she was primarily a traveling healer, and used the money she got from those jobs to sustain herself. Secondly, Lycia wasn't all selflessness. She wanted to help people, yeah, but she also wanted to make experiences, I guess. Live like an eagle, love like a madman, and dream like a god. A bit cheesy, yeah, but that was her credo. Well, we were simply too different. I guess that's what it comes down to. Let's face it, I'm a pathetic white knight, and an even worse world savior. Lycia and I, we were just bound to clash. We were lovers, then friends, then lovers again, and so on and so forth. Ultimately, that was just too much for me. Too extreme. Too absorbing. Love as she defined it, yeah. Had it been for her, we would have married after that first night. That's a long story. Not one that puts me in a favorable light. At least if you're like most people. Let's save that for another time.
Ну смотри, чтобы рассказал потом.
Split up. Yeah, that's one way to put it. But anyway, enough about me. What about you? Has there ever been someone in your life? Or have you always been the lone wolf?
Блин, я не хочу. Ну ладно, давайте вот это.
Oh my, is that how you think of me? Can't two good-looking adventurers have a nice chat on a beautiful evening without implications?
Так я
But
тебя
jokes
знаю.
aside, I think I know what you're trying to say. And as attractive as you
Чё?
are, I'm afraid
Что,
I
не
have to
отшил,
pass.
что ли?
Samara? No, I don't know. Maybe the entire thing with Lycia was enough for me. Sex is fine, but I guess I'm just not naive enough for
Нет,
anything
ты
else
просто
anymore.
сухарь.
Love, love, love. People have such lofty expectations these days, really. Sometimes I think it would help us all to admit that there isn't that much that separates us from the apes.
Стопудово в конце он меня кинет.
No, that would just complicate
Ой, ладно,
things,
тебе мир
believe me.
умирает, а ты тут ссышь.
And I can hardly imagine that a woman like you doesn't have 100 options to choose from. Oh, come on, that's just corny. You don't even know me.
Подкатываем, как это,
You
как
see, this is
можем.
exactly what I meant with the lofty expectations.
А, я
We're
добряк.
here,
Ах,
we
ты
get along,
какой.
and we're having a good time. Why the need for all this sentimental stuff? I like you. Let's just leave it at that, okay? Why don't
Ну,
you
до поры до
tell me a
времени.
little more about this trial? I heard you passed it together with that quiet girl, Kalia. What's she like? I've heard some stories about her. That's just life, I think. There comes a point when you've done all you can. My.
До
We
9
certainly
часов
lost track
только,
of time,
детское
haven't we?
время.
I really need to hit the hay for a couple hours now. I'll have to go look for some new work tomorrow. And I've heard about a
Да
nobleman who's looking
будет.
for a sellsword.
Я все
That is, if
слышала.
Orenthiel or old Bushybeard doesn't have a new job for me by then. Say what you want about them. Their pay is beyond generous. I'll see you around, fair lady.
Хорошо. Покасики. На самом деле, я думаю, вот реально в конце он меня кинет. Тебе скажет, да, было весело, все, пока я путешествую. Путешествовать пойдет. Так, ну значит, смотрите, какой план. Я хочу... Наверное, сейчас мы выполним это задание, вступим в орден, точнее не сейчас, в следующей серии выполним это задание, официально станем членами ордена и будем делать что-нибудь другое, потому что я хочу полазить по всяким руинам. У нас тут есть какое-то задание в какой-то, что это, корпорации какой-то, в какой-то корпорации, короче, работу спросить. Поэтому я пойду туда, спрошу там у них про работку, думаю, куда-нибудь в интересное место мы точно залезем. Вот, а на сегодня все. Всем спасибо за просмотр. Подписывайтесь на канал, на группу ВКонтакте, на Тамблер. Нажимайте на колокольчик, чтобы вам приходили уведомления о новых видео. Ставьте лайки, пишите комментарии, если у вас есть такое желание. И всем пока!